Giddy up. I almost hurt my neck doing that. Hey folks, today I want to talk to you about my mystical event. So this happened when I was 20, so 25 years ago. Still talking about it because it literally changed my life, and it's an event that I think if it ever happens to you, it really does change your life forever. It's why it's called a mystical event. It was something very special to me that happened. It impacts everything that I do. Everything in my life, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Okay, that truth has never changed. It's just whether I remember to connect to it or not in my life. That's the only thing now that's different. So what happened at the time, I was in university at Queen's, and my boyfriend at the time was an engineer, and he lived in a house with a bunch of other engineers, and there was a lot of math and a lot of physics going on, a lot of quantum physics, which is fascinating. I mean, I learned a lot about quantum physics through them. I read A Cartoon History of Time, and I read about the holographic universe, and I was reading a lot. I was learning a lot. It was an enormous amount of learning about math, about physics, not about actual doing math, but about the theories of physics, because I don't understand the math. So I was learning about physics. I was learning about quantum physics. I was also reading religious books because I was very curious at the time. I had a lot of questions about myself and about what I was doing and what my place was in the world and why I was at university and why I wanted to be a lawyer and why a lot of different stuff. And I wanted to know kind of what it meant to be alive. Like, why were we alive? Why was I alive? Why was I here? What was the purpose? What's the meaning? This is an ongoing theme in my life, is I want to know what it means. And the funny thing is I don't think there is necessarily any outside meaning except what we create. We're the ones that create meaning in our lives. And that is alternately both terrifying and powerful. So, but back then I was reading spiritual books. I read the Tao, and I read the Quran, and I was reading the Bible, and reading the Bible with a concordance. Nope, the concordance came later. But a concordance is every word in the Bible in its original source and etymology. If you've been around here any amount of time at all, you'll know that I love etymology. I love the sources of words because it's really interesting what words mean and what they mean when you know where they come from, when you know what the root is. Some words take on very, very different meanings when you understand the root of the word. Anyways, at the time, so I was reading a lot. I was smoking weed. I was taking hallucinogens. I was drinking. I was being a regular university student. I was also going to school and working. So I was responsible. I wasn't shiftless or anything like that, but at any rate, I was at my friend Dave's place, and we had gone on a walk. We had had a ginseng tea, we had shared a beer and shared a joint, and we were at his place, and he was talking to me about this idea, this concept of thought balls or something. I don't even remember what he was saying, because something was happening to me, and this had been happening for probably a week or a week and a half, where I kept getting these sensations while I was thinking, these thoughts of something happening. Okay, I don't know how to describe them except that my body was having a reaction of not necessarily anxiety, but just something was happening. Something was happening in my body. There was some shift that was happening. And when I was with Dave on this night, it just felt really strong and really prominent, and that something was going to happen. And it was actually a little bit scary. It was a little bit like if you have an energy building and it's going to like explode. That's what felt like was happening in my body. And I actually was a little bit afraid that I was going to go crazy. Like I thought that I was going to, whatever was going to happen, if I let it happen, I was going to lose my mind and I was going to be in a loony bin for the rest of my life. But I just thought, fuck it, let's go. There didn't seem to be any holding this back. And so I just allowed the energy to go through my body as it had been trying to do for the last week or so. Not all the time, but definitely when I was alone or having spiritual thoughts or on a walk. Definitely. Anyways. So I let this energy flow. And what happened was the greatest moment that I've ever had in my life. It was amazing. It was knowing, experiencing and seeing and knowing and feeling that everything in the world is connected. We're all connected by a gigantic, never-ending, universal energy field that entwines and encompasses all of us. We're all made of the same energy. We're all part of the same energy. We all vibrate with the same energy. We're all united. We're literally one giant organism, so to speak. And we're all loved. Everything in it. There's nothing that's exempt. There's nothing that's outside of this creation. Nothing exists outside. There's nothing exempt. There's no one that's not included. There's no one that's lost or rejected. Nothing is rejected. Everything is embraced. Everything is wanted and loved unconditionally forever. There's literally no judgment. It is the most awesome, powerful feeling, but loving. It was fully loving and everything was okay. That was the fundamental, ongoing, non-stop, repeated understanding was everything's okay. It's all okay. Everything that has been or is or ever will be, it's okay. It's all okay. And it felt amazing. It was like, the way it felt was that the energy flowed up through like my chakra system and then burst out of my head and fountained down. Like that's what it felt like burst out and fountained down. And when I looked around, all I could see was a web. It was a web made of light that encompassed everything. It's so hard to describe, but I can still see it. It was this multicolored light web that encompassed everything. Everything was included. There's nothing that's exempt. Anyway, it was that feeling of love and unconditional love and non-judgment and okayness stayed with me for years. Whenever I was feeling a little bit shitty, I would ask for a hug. I would ask for a hug. And I used to call it God, but unfortunately God has a lot of like gross baggage connected to it. And it doesn't really matter what you call it because it has no name and no name can touch it. It's very Taoist, but the name is not the thing, right? The name is not the thing. The name is just suggesting the thing. The name is suggesting and pointing in the general direction of what we're trying to talk about. Like, how do you put a word on all of creation and the void and everything and it is and has been and ever will be forever and ever, infinity forever? Like, how do you even put a word on that? Like, you don't. It's why I call it beloved presence. Because to me, it is beloved and it is very present. That I can feel beloved present. And I love how I say beloved present and my cat shows up. And that's it. That's like, I feel beloved presence very strongly in the natural world. My sense of spirituality is rooted very strongly in earth worship. It's rooted very, very strongly in the physical earth world. It is mystical and it's spiritual, but it is ever present in the physical world. And it's a part that's really important to me because a lot of spiritual avenues tend to disregard the spiritual or disregard the physical world in favor of the spiritual, as somehow like the physical is dirty or a punishment or anything like that. And I don't feel that way at all. I think the physical world is a gift. It's a beautiful, beautiful gift, and we're blessed to experience our spirituality on the physical plane. And that's part of the mystical path, is spiritualizing matter. Actually, how did the hair like flew up and went directly into my eye? Because it's not a video unless Leslie cries. Yes, the physical is a gift. It's a gift that we get to meet each other face to face in the physical world. But it's so hard to remember that we're one. And that's just it. I used to when I was feeling crappy, ask for a hug from God or ask for a hug from beloved presence, and I would get a little like shiver of that feeling, that frisson of oneness, that feeling of that mystical event would come through. And I would ask until I forgot to ask. And then for a period of time, I forgot that I had that mystical event at all. And then I remembered. And then everything changed again. So that's what happened to me. And more than anything, I wish at that time I had a place that could help me make sense of what had happened. And not just make sense, but help me design a plan around that to pay more attention to my identity and my questions of sovereignty and freedom around that event. And I did the best that I could with the healers and helpers that I had at the time. I did the best that I could with the library and the books that were available at the time. But I would have loved to have a community like this available that would have understood what I was going through, would have thought of it as wonderful but no big deal. Like, hey, that's the path. Right on, let's get on the path. Giddy up.
Giddy up. Giddy up.
Yeah, I would have loved to have this here. So that's my mystical event. That's really what happened that changed my life and changed the direction of my life and changed everything about it, really. Changed it forever. And it's still changing it. Like, I'm still talking about it 25 years later. Because it's still relevant. Ow, claws in the feet. They're so excited about getting pet. All right. I think I'm done. That's a lot. That's a lot of talking today. And stuffiness, because I just want to cry. Okay, thanks. Thanks for listening. Hope it was interesting to you. Have any questions? Please feel free to bring me questions. Put them in the comments. Write them in community. Put them wherever you like. Email me. Contact me on Facebook. Wherever. I like the questions. If you want to join the Patreon, please do. We'd love to have you here. And yeah, bring it to earth. Make it real.